As we announced last night, the first confirmed case of COVID-19 has now been identified on the island. The patient had recently returned home after a holiday in Spain. They developed symptoms, sought medical advice, and were advised to self-isolate.
Whilst we had no confirmed cases on the island, I wanted people to be able to prepare themselves and benefit from those last days of normality before what could be a long period that will be far from normal.
It is important that I make absolutely clear to people that these measures will change our daily lives. The fact that the first case has been confirmed on Ireland emphasises how important it is that people follow the advice that we have already issued.
If you love your mother, stay at home, do not visit her. It is essential that we contain this virus and stop its spread. We have a golden window of opportunity. The message is simple. Stay at home, social distance, self-isolate, and wash your hands.
Stop social gatherings. Do not have friends over for dinner. Do not go to any place where crowds gather. Even if you do not have symptoms, you must make a change to your behaviour. This is no longer optional. Everyone needs to respect the rules on social distancing.
Day 1, the first shift. My name is Stuart Steen McFall. I am 35 years old and work in life assurance. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but right now the world appears to be a terrifying ball of infected death, hurtling straight towards each and every one of us, ready to wipe out our species in one devastating, cataclysmic, sickly swoop.
I'm Lisa Crichton. I'm 41 years old. I'm self-isolating because it seems my partner and I were on a flight back from Liverpool on the 15th of March with the first guy who was diagnosed with COVID-19 on the island.
My name is Kathy Clucas. I'm nearly 55. I developed mild symptoms and I called it into the GP and I got told to self-isolate.
Hi, my name is Katie Banks. I'm 25 years old. So I returned back to the island having been in France for a ski season. I think my day that I got back was the first day of the self-isolation rules. Had I have come back before that, I would have self-isolated anyway. I didn't have any symptoms of corona, but I did have a heavy cold, and I just thought, given the amount of travelling that I had done, the people I'd been exposed to in that time, that I would be best off self-isolating.
Okay, here goes. I am called Laura. I live with my daughter, Scarlett, who's 12, on the 22nd of April. And it's going to be an interesting birthday this year, no party. Trying to get a cake. I have to make it myself. Anyway, these are just small things. They mean lots, but they don't, in the great scheme of things, they're not the most important thing at the moment. The most important thing is just putting one foot in front of the other. Everyone is in the same boat. We've all just got to be positive, because if we don't, we're going to get through this. But it is very hard. You go to sleep and you toss and turn all night because you're thinking about tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes and it's the same.
My name's Kat Jenkins. I'm 55 years old and I am a support worker at Gry's Rough Sleepers Night Shelter. And now I'm just getting myself ready to head off out of the house down to the night shelter. I wouldn't normally be on tonight, but my colleague is unwell, and so she's in isolation for the next 2 weeks. So I'm going to be on every night, I think, for those 2 weeks. And that's absolutely fine. Works well for me because it just means that I'll get home, sleep in the mornings, be pottering around my house and garden in the afternoons, and then down at the shelter every night.
I'm Sergeant 271 Michael Taylor from the Roads Policing Unit of the Isle of Man Constabulary. On Friday the 20th of March is where it really started accelerating for us. It was around about 11 a.m. and the control room asked me to go and attend the grandstand due to a large number of vehicles on Glen Crutchery Road waiting to go through the screening area, and it was potentially causing obstruction on the road. At that point it was a real eye-opener for me due to the number of vehicles with people waiting to get tested. Bearing in mind these people had been advised by a doctor to get tested as they were displaying symptoms. Suddenly the reality of the situation hit me. Our sleepy little island clearly has the coronavirus within it.
So, my family and I are having a go at this self-isolation lark. We have 2 boys, a fairly level-headed goofball of a 7-year-old, and a wild, fearless and absolutely feral, untamed beast of a 3-year-old. Should be fairly straightforward penning him in then, and not at all like brawling with a simmering gorilla over the last banana. None of us are displaying any of the symptoms yet, thankfully. However, we're taking no chances. It seems inevitable that the island will soon follow the UK's lead, and pistol whip anyone who is spotted touching their face half a millimetre outside their living room.
So we were advised to isolate. I'm able to work remotely, so that's all right. And so is he. We don't have any symptoms. We haven't had any symptoms at all, really. Although occasionally, I think we imagine that we've got a bit of a sore throat, or occasionally you get a bit hot and you think, oh, is that a temperature? But it's a bit of a strange situation for us. We both have children. And although children apparently are allowed to go between their 2 houses when there's shared custody, it just so happened, as luck would have it, that my 2 went to their dad's, and then my son started to display symptoms, a cough, a sore throat, a bit of a temperature spike. And so we were advised that they needed to isolate for 14 days, and so they're doing that at their father's, which is very hard for me.
Actually, I've been thinking quite a lot about my older relatives that have long since passed, and how many of them lived through the Spanish influenza. I know this is a different situation, but they did get through it. And I think possibly it would have been harder, because these days we've got lots of different ways we can connect to people without actually being with them. I'm sure there's people very worried and anxious about a lot of things, because understandably so, because it's so unknown, really, what things are going to be like.
It's not great. I don't have a partner, so I don't have an adult to talk to. That's quite hard. But most importantly is the people that are on their own. I'm not on my own. I've got a daughter and cat. But the people that are on their own, it's so difficult. I mean, this impact on people's mental health is going to be phenomenal. Frankly, we've never known anything like this in my generation. I'm 48. I can't compare it to anything. And you think about things in history that people have been through so much worse, so much more hardship, and in the war scenarios, Anne Frank, and you think, we can do this, but it's just alien. It really is.
Just the lack of social interaction with people that isn't through a screen. I just really miss general chit chat with people. I'm just not used to it only being me. I rationalise it in my mind and remember that people do have it so much worse. But a lot of people I've spoken to just say that they have this like heavy feeling on their chest, which is quite ironic because one of the symptoms of the virus is sort of like a tight chest and shortness of breath, but that's also a symptom of anxiety as well. So I think everyone is struggling at the minute with anxiety. But just checking in with everyone's definitely helping, talking to people quite often.
I look at the people in the cars. Some look fearful, some look ill, some look away or avoid eye contact. People driving or walking past or staring over, gawping at the people in the cars. Today is really the first big day of mass public testing. And it's a testing day due to the numbers of people getting tested. The garages are like a hive of activity. The nurses are busily attending the patients, taking details, taking swabs. They really are working like Trojans. I explained to the head nurse the issues that we've encountered with the vehicles, and particularly if it's going to get worse, which she tells me it will, due to the numbers of people are expecting. She explains that they're close to running out of swabs due to the unprecedented demand on that day.
My wife, a nurse on Noble's male coronavirus ward, I think that's a recent rebrand, is preparing for her first shift since this chaos commenced. And I think I'm handling it quite well. I wave my wife off as she walks to the car, and it dawns on me. She's off to war. She's out into the front line whilst I bake cookies, mind the children, and pine hopelessly for my forlorn, hopefully returning love. Suddenly I feel rather faint. There's a tremoring quake in my guts and a dull ache pulsating through my skin, rendering me a hunched, sweating mess. I can feel a deep, suffocating, asphyxiate heat bearing down on me, as though my internal organs are seeking escape through my skittish larynx. I'm sure it's nothing to worry about. I've got 16 kilos of pasta to get through. That will be it.
I'm homeschooling my daughter, obviously, and that's keeping us going. A little bit reluctant at times, but it's been good to have a focus. It's good to get up and think, well, we do have to do those things today, and it's quite. It's something to focus on. It's just bizarre. You just wake up and look out the window, and there's nothing moving, nothing. Birds. There's just so much bird song and birds. There's no people. I mean, the odd person walking up and down with a dog. No cars on the road. So quiet. So quiet.
We're incredibly lucky. We've got people asking us almost constantly, do we need anything? Can we bring anything around? It's really lovely. People helping, pulling together.
They had the clapping for all the staff, all the nurses, all the doctors, all the carers, all the people involved in who are helping to save people's lives. And where I live, it was beautiful. Also, you could hear the echoes all the way through the village. It was really, really nice. And all you could hear was clapping. Couldn't hear cars, couldn't hear planes. All you could hear was clapping. And it was really, I was quite tearful. I did cry a bit because it was really nice to see everyone acting as a community together.
It's Aileen Broad and Stephen Broad. We're just under 50 and just over 50. Our real occupation is crane hire and haulage company, Isle of Man Heavy Crane Services. The cranes aren't working at all at the moment, but the haulage side is we run the mail trailer, parcel force trailer from the harbour to the Isle of Man Post Office every day. It's Good Friday. Happy Easter, everybody. We're just going along the quay back to the post office after picking up the trailer, and the roads are eerily quiet. We haven't really seen anybody other than lorries about. It's 6 o'clock in the morning and it's a lovely sunny day, we hope.
I think I'm coping reasonably well with all the restrictions and so forth that are in place. Partly that's because I'm incredibly lucky. I've got a home of my own and a front door to close behind me, so I have somewhere to be during the day. I have plenty to keep me occupied, books and cats. I don't have my family with me. My 2 little girls don't live with me, and that is a source of loneliness and grief. But on the whole, we are all fit and well, and we have hope for the future. But also, I'm in recovery. I'm getting on for 3 years sober, and as part of recovery, I learnt lots and lots of tools for dealing with difficult emotions that could trigger somebody into a relapse. Things like frustration and boredom and fear, anger. So learning all of those skills and tools probably equips people like me to deal with situations like this better than some people who've not been through that. They haven't got these extra tools in their toolkit. Maybe these are things that we should be teaching everybody from the get-go.
I FaceTimed with both my children today. My daughter and I had a good chat, and she showed me her latest dance moves that she's been putting together, and it was lovely. And my son, well, getting a conversation out of a 9-year-old boy over phone or FaceTime or whatever is a bit like getting blood out of a stone. It's difficult. Keep trying.
I'm just down the fields checking on my horses and donkeys, and having a bit of a thought, really. It's a bit of a bittersweet day. We were meant to be on the steam train with my dad today for Sunday lunch, celebrating his birthday, but sadly, due to the coronavirus and the fact that he passed away suddenly and unexpectedly in Lanzarote in January, means that we're not there. But we have to count our blessings in some respects, because Dad had chronic heart disease and would have been one of the people who'd have been high risk at the current time. He'd have been very worried, even though he wouldn't have been showing it to us as his family. And we do have to look on the positives at these times and think that how lucky we were able to have a funeral and have family and friends from England and hug each other and celebrate his life with a wake afterwards, something that current families losing loved ones can't do. And we do have to sit and think of the positives and think really as a family how lucky we were to be able to do that. It means that Mum is up here, unfortunately for her, with us, because I won't let her stay at home on her own. She got herself a little chihuahua and she's currently trying to knit him a woolly jumper. Well, it's the smallest jumper you can imagine, but taking the longest amount of time. But that's a story for another day. Anyway, have a happy Easter Sunday, and I hope everybody stays safe and takes care.
There could be some positives that come out of it. Sort of time to think, how can we do things differently? With people not driving so much, not so much planes and everything, it's obviously going to have a positive impact on the environment. Not just on the Isle of Man, but elsewhere. So this is good for biodiversity. So maybe it's a time to reflect and think about how can we do things differently to protect our environment. And so it's good for the future generations, our younger generations, the young people, because they're the ones that have to inherit our earth.
My gorgeous neighbour brought me supper again tonight, which is so nice to feel looked after. And now I'm heading down the road to see what we'll get coming into the night shelter, what sorts of situations might send people our way. It's actually better now than it ever has been, because I think COVID has made some agencies have to do something about the homeless, because they can't be wandering the streets from when we close the doors at 7:30 in the morning to when we reopen at 9 at night. So actually those agencies have had to work with the homeless, the night shelter management to come up with a strategy that will see them through the lockdown period, but also hopefully lead into some sort of recognition of it for the longer term.
It's 7 o'clock at night and we're just on our way home. This morning we went out and did the mail trailer. We got some more post for the postman to deliver. We then got a phone call from the Isle of Man Constabulary asking if we could go and have a look to see if we would be able to recover the car that went down Marine Drive yesterday for the accident. So we got out with the crane this afternoon, which was nice to go out with the crane, but it wasn't a very nice lift that we had to do under the circumstances. It's very, very tragic, and thoughts go to the family of the gentleman in the car. We had the Coast Guard help me abseil down the cliff to get there, which was a first, which was not it was an interesting experience. Going over the edge is a bit frightening at the beginning, but once you're down there it's okay, and you get winched back up, so that's good. The crane lifted the car, no problem at all. And as I say, we're just on our way home now after a busy afternoon, and so get some tea and then start again in the morning at 4:30. Speak to you tomorrow. Stay safe, everybody.
Most of us know who lives around us, and we know who might need help and who might not. And it's the practical things like getting a bit of shopping, or popping to the chemist, or maybe walking a dog, that type of thing. But also it is the emotional and the mental health support we all need, because we're living in really, basically surreal times, unknown times for everyone. So we all have to help each other and thinking the best of people rather than the worst of people. And also not being too proud to ask for help, because we're really going to get through is as a community is working together on this and making sure that everyone on the island feels like somebody's looking out for them.
During the pandemic on the island, many key workers have sacrificed time with their family. Some have moved out of their homes into temporary accommodation to keep their family safe because they're working on the front line and they're dealing with people who have got COVID-19. It made seeing family impossible. However, one of the joys of modern life is, and I hate to say it, is modern technology, which has made keeping in touch with family and friends so much easier and bearable. To actually see a loved one on a screen means much more, and it's much more real than a phone call. My elderly nana and my handicapped uncle, they both live together, and they're so used to seeing so many visitors of the family coming round on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, to all of a sudden having nobody.
One thing I did find today that was different is I had a bit of a sore throat. Well, I thought it might just be like hay fever. My mum and my sister said that their hay fever had flared up. So I had a sore throat and itchy ears. But then as the day went on, I sort of found this like shortness of breath. Now that could be anxiety, or like I find myself even doing it now when I'm talking for quite a while. Have to take quite deep breaths. And I had to make the bed last night, so that got me out of breath and I was wheezing a bit. So yeah, I kept an eye on that. Last night wasn't a good night's sleep. I was quite feverish, hot and cold sweats. It took me ages to get to sleep. I took some paracetamol to help with the temperature and the sore throat, and finally got off to sleep quite late. So I've woken up this morning on day 10, and I've given 111 a call to just see what they've said. This cough's a bit persistent. It's kind of like a tickly cough. And if I get up and do too much exercise, like the walk to the bathroom will make me cough. And I find myself getting a bit out of breath, but I'm not worried about anything at the moment. I just wanted to be sure and call up 111. Given the fact that I travelled back to the island through France, Switzerland and the UK, they've recommended I do the test for the coronavirus. Now, because I'm on my own and I don't have a car, I'm not able to get up to the grandstand. So they have let me know that they've passed on my details to the community testing. Yeah, I'll keep you posted. Mentally doing a lot better, but physically, apparently I've got something that's making me feel not great. So we shall see.
I know that the current measures are tough for many. It is about keeping yourself and your loved ones safe. It is about protecting the most vulnerable people on our island. It is clear that this is going to be a marathon, not a sprint.
Ireland in Lockdown was a specially commissioned documentary by Manx Radio. It was produced by Aaron Ibanez, Sarah Hendy and William King. Parts 1 and 2 are now available to listen again as a podcast online at manxradio.com.